Welcome. We're so glad to have you here tonight as we celebrate the launch of this beautiful novel, Watching Men Dance by Marcia Cebulska. My name is Thea Rodemaker, and my company, Flint Hills Publishing, is honored to work with Marcia as she leaps from her career as a successful playwright and lands with grace and strength as a novelist. Just a couple things, housekeeping tips before we get started. This is a webinar, so no one in the audience will see anyone else. It'll just be Marcia and myself. But at the end, we do want you to ask some questions. So hold on to those questions, and we promise we'll get to them at the end. Marcia, welcome. Congratulations.
Thanks, Thea. Hi. I'm so glad. Welcome to everybody. I'm so glad you're all zooming in tonight for this celebration. I'm just thrilled. And first of all, I want to thank Thea for putting together this event and also putting together this beautiful book. Originally, this event was going to be a live event at the Mulvane Art Museum, and like everything else, it had to be changed to an online event, and I really balked and had trouble with that at the beginning. But now I realize that, okay, my beloved cousins and nieces and friends from far away, old friends, can be coming in and watching in. So I welcome you all. And at last count, I just want to make a point of this. At last count, we had people registered, signed in from 21 states, plus the District of Columbia, plus 2 countries. Yay. Okay, and all of those different places remind me that the book, it also visits a number of places. My main character, Ava, and I share a love of travel. And so I was thinking the first thing to start out with is to see some photographs of a few of the places, namely 3, that helped inspire the book. These photographs were done by my husband, Tom Prosh, so thanks to him. And right after we see this little sneak peek, I will read an excerpt from the book. So welcome all, and hope you enjoy.
Ροδοκοκκίνηση αυγή, ροδοκοκκίνηση αυγή, η μέρα να περάσει. Η μέρα να περάσει, η μέρα να περάσει. Άνοιξε το παράθυρο στη γειτονιά να λιάσει. μέρα. Την καλημέρα σου φέρα σε ένα ματσάκι ρόδα. Σε ένα ματσάκι ρόδα, σε ένα ματσάκι ρόδα, πώς θα σε κάνω τέρι μου, όνειρο απόψε τόδα. Την καλημέρα σου φέρα σε πύληνο φλιτζάνι. Σε πύληνο φλιτζάνι, σε πύληνο φλιτζάνι, να την επιεί τα χείλη σου η μέρα να γλυκάνει.
Watching Men Dance. Seattle, 1971. She finds herself in an abandoned part of town. Trying to cheer herself on, Ava makes up a wish list for her summer in Seattle. Eat some salmon, smoke a cigar, see a totem pole, climb a mountain, sail on the sea, look for mermaids, take tons of pictures. On this, her very first night, she's recording the journey of a piece of cellophane being carried by the breeze. Remembering the French film, The Red Balloon, Ava is photographing what turns out to be a potato chip bag as it tumbles along the sidewalk and sails through the air. And although the recession hits Seattle, it's not Paris, and what she's following is just a crumpled bag, she trails it as if it were fate itself. It leads her through a forgotten park, past a cigar store Indian place outside a Chinese restaurant, past a boarded up shop called the Grand Map Emporium. The bag somersaults and sails until it plasters itself against the window of a mirror store where Ava's image confronts her by the dozen. Seeing her travel-weary eyes and her hair frizzled like a clown wig, she spits on her hands and uselessly pats down the top of her head. Unceremoniously, the bag falls to the ground. Ava looks up at the sky. Hey, you up there, really? Can't you send me something with a little life? A gust of wind picks up the red and white bag, and Ava sprints, trying to capture the fluttering cellophane in motion as it flies around the corner. And that's when she sees him, the boy in feathers. He stands in profile, poised in concentration, waiting just beyond a mural of a mermaid painted on a brick wall. Bared arms and legs adorned in feathers and bells, he holds himself perfectly still. She thinks, oh my God, he's so... When the sound begins, the loud, wonderful beating, her attention moves sharply to the right, where 5 men, all wearing jeans, t-shirts, and red bandanas, strike a large drum in the middle of the street where a crowd is gathering. The drummers start singing. To Ava's unfamiliar ears, they seem to wail, to cry out in a language she doesn't recognize, but thinks she can understand. Can't possibly understand, though she desperately wants to. Voices call and respond. Drum beats resound. The sound is strong. It makes her forget hunger, fatigue, homesickness. She is in Seattle listening to a band of native drummers. Men beating out a rhythm, voicing a lament. Ava becomes absorbed into the sound. She finds herself reverberating as if she herself is a drum. Now the ankle and wrist bells of the boy in feathers add to the rhythm. He begins to dance. She wants to see this up close. She is eager to see this. She must see this. Ava edges forward between t-shirts and handbags to get a better view. She watches the dancer strike the pavement with bare feet. Bells jangle. The fan of feathers on his back vibrates. Shiny black hair moves in waves across shoulders that are strong, graceful, and stately. He is beautiful. Ava Odessa Paputsakis is 20, and she believes she is hearing an ancient song about the pettiness of humans and the wrath of gods. She is young, so she thinks she can right grave wrongs if she just really listens. She photographs the dancers sitting in a circle, striking the large drum and the single dancer. She wants to capture the fleeting movement, record the vision as if it were about to evaporate. The rhythm shifts to single unison beats. The tempo increases, volume rises, feathers whirl, sweat gleams, the dancer stomps. She leans forward, watching with her whole body. Now she can see him up close. 2 stripes of color paint each cheek. His eyes are a captivating sea green. Really? She lowers her camera. He dances in place. If she didn't know better, she'd say he was dancing just for her. Her cheeks flush. As the song ends, Ava tries to assemble herself into some kind of dignity. She watches the next dance and the next. The crowd thins, the air cools. The singers pack up and leave. She sees this from the corner of her eye, knows this is happening, but she is watching this beautiful being who is still dancing. She is the only audience left. He starts to sing now. He is his own accompaniment. Aya Waya Haya is what she thinks she hears. She wonders what it means. She doesn't care what it means. She very much wants to know what it means. The evening darkens, the street empties. They stay, she watching, he dancing ever more slowly. She bites her lip, his foot bleeds. She drops her backpack, he stops singing. She steps closer, he leans forward. She closes her eyes, feels warmth. Was that a kiss or a feather? He speaks. You ought to come with us to Portland for the big powwow next weekend. It'll be good. She steps on the potato chip bag that has been floating around the square, arrests it in its journey. She thinks, just got here, Portland far away, can't possibly. But then again, a chance to hear the beat of the drum, the jangle of the bells, to feel that tremble in the bones. She says, sure.
Thank you, Marcia. What you just read clearly relates to the title, Watching Men Dance. Can you tell us about this title?
Sure, and you're right. I actually thought of the title right after writing that part, which was one of the first parts of the book I wrote. But I've been watching men dance since childhood. My uncles were some of my uncles were really amazing dancers. One was a competitive dancer and was a world champion. Then later on, I saw Baryshnikov dance, leaping across the stage with such dignity and grace and strength. I mean, I was wowed. In the movies, Gene Kelly and Singing in the Rain and American in Paris, again, close to my heart. And then, yes, later on, I got a job. This is in an earlier incarnation of Marcia as sociologist. And I got a job in Seattle. And when I moved to Seattle, I wandered around some and I heard drumming and I followed the drum beat. And indeed, I saw a man dancing in the street, a Native American dancer. I was mesmerized. I was gobsmacked. And so I eventually decided to name the book Watching Men Dance, and it stuck. It's with us still.
Well, in the last part of the slideshow, we hear some very interesting drumming music. Can you tell us about that particular piece of music?
Unfortunately, we only heard a little smidgen and then it got cut off. But yes, the drumming, I did indeed go to Portland to a powwow in 1971, invited by a dancer. And I went up, I stood next to the drummers and held one of those very old-fashioned cassette players where you have to press play and record at the same time. And I recorded the music, and I loved it. I loved it, even though it was a bad recording with lots of blips and buzzes in it. I loved it because it reminded me of that time and that experience. And but then somewhere in some move, I lost it. I lost it for a long time. And then when I started thinking about this book, when I started imagining what I wanted in this book, I found it in a box of things I was going through, old stuff, and I played it, and again, it brought up a lot of memories, and I decided right then that I wanted as my main male character a Native American dancer.
Well, hearing all of these stories, personal stories, makes me wonder how much of this book is autobiographical?
How much of the book is autobiographical? Okay. 36.284%. I'm not sure how to calculate exactly, but what I do know is, yes, I did have an amorous relationship with a Native American dancer. We did we get jailed together as a rampaging Indian couple? Yes. Did I ride a horse on a beach in Chile, only to have a herd of wild horses start galloping toward us? Yes. On the other hand, have I ever hoisted myself on the back of a buffalo? No. Was I ever washed up on an Aegean shore, half drowning? No. Did I ever spend a snowy evening in a laundromat with AstroTurf flooring? No. The question is, I mean, we're also often told as writers to write what we know. And for me, the question is, what is it? What does that exactly mean? Because I feel like what I know is not only the events that I've been involved in, but also what I know through my research and my imagination. which reminds me now of something with Madeline L'Engle was asked about that idea of writing what one knows. And she said, yes, I write what I know, and what I know are dragons.
I love that. One of your advanced readers, Emily Cochran, was really taken by a scene that you call horseradish. Would you share that with us, please?
Absolutely. And horseradish is in the book as a part of the book, but also was excerpted, a longer version of this was excerpted as a short story that was published in the North American Review. But okay, horseradish. Chicago, 1978. The door is slightly ajar. Ava, Julie, and the little girls can waltz right into the Chicago apartment as casually as if they'd run to the corner store to buy a quart of milk. But instead, having driven 500 miles from Big Springs, Kansas, they yawn, stretch their necks, and look around the place, waiting for their elder relative to greet them. Aunt Dottie sits on her doily-enhanced burgundy couch, raptly watching the young and the restless, making a wait, wait sign with her upturned index finger. Her living room is graced by the same Duncan Fife furniture it sported some 20, 30 years ago, except for the significantly larger TV. A faded picture of Jesus showing off his Sacred Heart hangs above the screen, where finally the credits roll. Released from the daily daytime drama, Aunt Dottie turns her wide smile to the new arrivals. After sloppy kisses and tight embraces, after children have been whirled in the air and $20 bills tucked into their tight little fists, Aunt Dottie leads her visitors into the kitchen. On the counter are 3 jars of Manischewitz horseradish. 2 beet, 1 plain. Easy breezy these days, huh, girls? Not like the old days, remember? Grating the ends of your fingertips into the horseradish, your eyes watering, the coughing, the running out to the porch to get away from the sting in your lungs. All the crying, remember? Now look, thanks to the Jews, we got it made. It's even kosher, whatever that means. In Ava's revered memories of this old Polish neighborhood, Holy Thursday was indeed the day for grating horseradish. Sure, they'd visit the obligatory 7, or maybe it was 9 Polish churches, put their knees to marble and walk their way toward the suffering Christ. But the real business of the day had been the peeling and shredding of white and red winter roots in her mother's kitchen. The very reason they are returning to Chicago is to record the fondly remembered anticipation of Easter. The making of sausages, the grating of beets, the baking of breads, the carving of butter lambs. When Ava and Julie were children, Polish Easter was the biggest holiday of the year. Ava's camera hangs heavily from her shoulder. Her shutter finger is itchy. She tries to word her response carefully. If we were to run over to Seraphin's round the corner, do you think maybe they'd still have a horseradish root and a couple of beets? You remember that dusty old place? You had to ask for everything. You wanted a can of beans on the top shelf? They used to grab it with a claw on a stick. Long gone, girls, long gone. A big Kroger opened up, and now we get everything in one store. You don't have to go to bakery here, butcher there. You don't have to talk to nobody. They got everything. They even sell pineapples in winter. Can you imagine? We are so lucky we live when we do. Aunt Dottie leads Ava and Julie. Aunt Dottie lets Ava and Julie squirm with discomfort, recalculate, and hem and haw for a few minutes before she slowly and dramatically opens what she still calls the icebox. A pungent Easter fragrance blasts out like a cloud of smoke from a locomotive. The scents of garlicky sausage and boiled eggs, horseradish root and beets fill their nostrils. Dottie pulls out a long, yellowish, waxy-looking root and a couple of hefty, earthy beets. I don't know why you want to do it the old way when they've done all the work for you. You call it tradition? I call it hard work. With mild distaste, she hands around aprons. You're going to want to wear these. Those beets bleed like a goat with its throat slit. Everything Dottie says is true. The crying and nipped fingertips, an overwhelming nostril antagonizing pungency. The little girls in aprons tied under their armpits first turn up their noses, then each try a bite of boiled beet. Xenia dutifully chews and swallows. Sequoia spits out the first taste, but then grabs another, bigger piece. Dottie wears an apron that covers her from shoulders to mid-thigh in pockets and flowers. She jangles keys in one of the pockets as she instructs Julie how to add the vinegar and salt. When she's given a sample, Dottie screws up her face. Strong, bitter, salty, she exclaims. Dottie herself stirs in the deep purple grated beets. Helps to take the edge off like a good joke in hard times. A pause, and then Dottie, with a bit of a flourish, raises a full tablespoon of the mixture to her nose, then her mouth. Like a wine connoisseur, she furrows her forehead, concentrates on the bouquet and complexity of tastes. She nods her approval. It's like life, right? You got the bitter and you got the sweet.
Marcia, throughout the book, there is a lot of focus on food. What inspired that?
Yeah, I'm a big eater, and I love food almost as much as dancing. In my family, there was a lot of focus around food. My father was a baker. I grew up in a bakery, so he created food. A couple of my uncles were fruit and vegetable wholesalers, I guess you'd say, and others were dairy farmers or other kinds of farmers. So when it came around to Easter, my grandfather would make sausages out of pork that was raised on one of my uncle's farms, and we indeed would bake breads, make a horseradish sauce from scratch, and carve butter lambs. Years later, when I was in grad school, I took a class called the EPIC and wrote a paper on food in the Odyssey. When I reread the Odyssey for this class, I realized that there was just loads of food in it that I had never remembered from other readings. So I wrote about food in the Odyssey, and one thing I noticed was that Homer uses repeated sections. There are like a number of sentences in a row that will reappear in different places where there's banqueting or eating. So I decided to steal that from Homer, and so I have that not only about food but other subjects, just like Homer did. And so it's not laziness as a writer, it is on purpose. I stole it from Homer.
Well, the Odyssey focuses in part on vengeance, fights with angry gods, trying to return home, and Homer is a man. So what was your thinking with how the Odyssey influenced watching men dance?
Okay. Well, first of all, there is a dog in the book named Homer. And then going through your list, vengeance, yeah, there's a bit of vengeance in the book. The wrath of gods is something that people refer to in the book, but not necessarily that they believe in it. Journey home. Absolutely. About the last third of the book really concentrates on Ava's journey home. And in that, as far as the mythical monsters go, that the monsters in the book aren't quite so mythical. But there are episodes that mirror or are similar to episodes in the Odyssey. Yeah, and then the question of the woman protagonist. Yes, this came about a few years ago when I was writing a real true adaptation of the Odyssey for the town of Greensburg, Kansas, that had been destroyed by a tornado and then rebuilt as a green, ecologically sound town. When that play, after it was done in front of an audience, I still had Odyssey on the brain. And there were at that time a number of books that were coming out in which the character of Penelope was changed. So an unfaithful Penelope or whatever. But where my mind went was to, what if there were an Odysseus-like protagonist who was a woman, a female type Odysseus. And I kind of love that idea. So I continued to work with that. And like I say, the Odyssey references are more, this is not a strict adaptation. It's like referring to the Odyssey. Yeah, so I hope I got your whole list.
And I think you're going to share your next reading with us.
Yes, right. Well, while we're talking about Greece and Journey Home, when Ava sets off on her travels, she and her brother go to Crete, where their father's family came from. So they're half Greek American, and they're trying to, they're going, first of all, to scatter his ashes on the Aegean as he requested. But they want to find the town that he came from. They do eventually find a relative named Dmitri, and he promises them that he will take them to the village of their forefathers and mothers. Petrohori, Crete, 1986. Dmitri drives his old red truck up the mountains with speed, shifting forcefully, willing the groaning truck up and up, climbing into herb-scented air. The roadsides become more colorful with wildflowers, the houses spread out, and then suddenly the road narrows into a village. The stone walls surrounding the town are whitewashed, the streets cobbled. As Dmitri leads them to the church, his face assumes a dignified composure. His shirt is starched and pressed, and Ava is glad she's wearing her one and only skirt. Mickey turns and says, "Church?" He screws up his face, and Ava knows he is remembering the 3-hour incense-laden Orthodox church services of their childhood. But Dmitri has timed their arrival perfectly for lazy Westerners. They reach the church door just as it opens at the end of the service. Attendees spill out with smiles on their faces and green branches in their hands. A lovely Greek woman hands Ava her branch. Dmitri says, "It is a custom. This is called philoxenia, love of the stranger, hospitality." Everyone is welcoming them with branches. A large group gathers around them, jostling each other, remarking on how tall they are. They walk together, this group, down the stone cobbles, where the purple bougainvillea drops blossoms like giant drops of blood on the street. The children run, tagging and teasing each other, watching the American faces, looking for resemblances. They could all be named Paputsakis. They enter what looks like a neighborhood store. Outside, a couple of commercial freezers advertise ice cream confections with bright blue illustrations. Inside, the advertising posters adorn the walls, mixed indiscriminately with Cretan folk art. A woolen hanging here, a chocolate-covered caramel bar there. The heady scent in the air, however, has nothing to do with ice cream, but instead conveys the deep, pungent smell of lamb. Women wearing flower-printed aprons bustle around, carrying baskets filled with bread. Tables line the length of the room, covered with paper tablecloths clipped on top of oilcloth. Carafes of wine join the bread on the tables. Mickey and Ava seat themselves across from Dmitri. He now seems an old friend amongst all these strangers who might be long-lost cousins or newcomers who moved here last week. Try this, the local wine, Dmitri says. It is good, I think. And he is right. Ava is struck by everyone's willingness to be happy, their eagerness to create a party, to put their concerns aside and sing together. She knows they must have woes, illnesses, bad business deals, breaches of trust, adulteries, and yet they come together. A young man of maybe 15 or 16 holds a lira on his knee, the neck touching his narrow collarbone. His voice is haunting. Stronger, bigger men surround him, requesting this or that song with their booming baritones. One song tells about a hero who led an adventurous and bawdy life. Ava catches an occasional word or phrase. Those eyes of hers. And then she saw him. I want it all. Glasses are raised, bottles emptied, meat gnawed off bones. Arms are slung around shoulders. Ava searches for her father's face among these singing men, and then she sees it behind a huge Cretan mustache. On a man with rosy cheeks and a hearty laugh. This man is Papa's spirit, as well as his face. For hours, the villagers sing, telling tales in song. After they've consumed acres of food, Mickey asks how he can pay back the generosity. Dmitri says, tipota, nothing, nothing. They ask again and again. Finally, Dmitri shrugs his shoulders. Maybe a little ice cream? Mickey goes out to the bright blue freezers covered with depictions of cartoon characters eating giant ice cream cones, peers inside. An aproned woman joins him, solicitous, wondering if she can help. He wants to buy the entire contents of the freezers. He knows how to say all in Greek, and like the heroes in the songs he's just heard, he says, Tathelo ola, I want it all. The men are delighted and find another song with that refrain. The lira is struck with the bow, producing the sound of a past they never knew, but now can't help but remember.
Thank you, Marcia. I find that idea of Greek hospitality and love of the stranger so interesting. What can you tell us about that?
Okay, yes, it's usually translated as love of the stranger, but we might translate it as guest or someone's unfamiliar, and it's actually in Homer as well that when Odysseus travels, when he arrives anywhere, people feed him and give him comfort before even asking his name. When I read Nikos Kazantzakis' account of his travels around Crete, I was amazed by the similarity that he would knock on a door and people would ask him in and give him food and a place to sleep. And I've had similar experiences in Greece. I didn't go knocking on arbitrary doors, but once my father-in-law wanted to know how a old windmill worked, and there was a little house next to a windmill, and we did knock on the door just to ask if he could be shown what the windmill, how the works looked. But the people invited us into the house and fed us, and then we were able to ask about the windmill. Turned out the house didn't have anything to do with the windmill, but they sat us down, gave us food, and without any question. Even today in Greek restaurants, you'll get served ouzo and appetizers and olives before you're given a menu. So that custom, that hospitality continues. And I think right now, it seems especially important to me in this time of racial strife and fear of immigrants. I am hoping that we can look to other models of dealing with welcoming the other, the stranger. Philoxenia, yes.
Well, Marcia, there's so much profound symbolism in your book. And one of the early conversations we had was how were we going to capture all that in the cover to the book? And fortunately, you had a great idea, and a very talented Kansas artist agreed to work with us. And there she is, Ms. Barbara Waterman Peters. She is an award-winning artist with works in museums, corporate and private collections. Her artistic heart shines through in her beautiful personality. She has shown such love and generosity to us when we've been working with her. And Barbara, thank you for being here. And I'm going to sit back and listen to what the two of you have to talk about.
Okay, welcome, Barbara.
Thank you.
When Thea, first asked me about who I would like to do art for the cover, the very first name I said to her was I would really love to have Barbara Waterman Peters because I've admired her work for so long. So I am thrilled that we got to work with you on this, and I think the collaboration worked out with really well, and I love what we ended up with. But I think it'd be great for people to hear from you about the process, what the collaboration was like for you.
Okay, I would love to talk about that. First, it was an honor to be approached by you and Thea, two women I admire very much. And at our first meeting, the excitement and enthusiasm and the eagerness to come up with ideas, how we sort of wove together the possibilities, really sticks in my mind. It was a marvelous meeting. You were very astute, I think, in your having a very strong idea of what you wanted for the cover. Now, I will admit it took me a little aback. A pickup with a tree coming out of the back of the bed. It was not something I had tackled before, but I thought, okay, there has to be a good reason for Marcia to want to challenge my skills. I had the good fortune to read a draft of the entire novel, and it's wonderful to hear you read it tonight in your voice. I love it. And I began by doing some sketches of old pickup trucks, of trees, just kind of general little pencil sketches, doodles. I did a lot of research. I got online, I looked for old pickups, we discussed what year you wanted, above all, what color you wanted. And then, of course, the tree was to be a Western red cedar, more research. I have reams of paper of things I found about these specific things. And I decided to then do some color sketches so that we would be talking about the same thing. And the drawings were done very carefully and then colored pencil used. And that did lead to some questions about the color, but we could tell that we were all thinking along the same lines.
Maybe this would be a good time to look at the paintings that you created. I think we have a slide of them. Yes. So these are the paintings that the images eventually got incorporated into the cover that Amy Albright did so well. But can you tell us a little bit more if people are looking straight on the paintings?
Yes, I'd be happy to. First of all, I thought about what I was doing. What is this project? Well, it's a book cover. And so I wanted the images to be very smooth. So I selected a smooth surface board. I wanted the colors to be very bright. And so I chose acrylic. I wanted the situation to be such that there was a, an intrigue with the image, and yet it was a little bit mysterious, and yet I could not use my usual dark, mysterious paintings. They didn't apply here. So I had to step out of my comfort zone. But working with you, I mean, you made suggestions. You sent me images of things you wanted to include. So it was just a pleasure to interpret all that, to decide where to put it, to decide what scale to do everything on, how much shadow to use. I could go on and on because I did spend quite a bit of time on these. I wanted them to be exactly right. And the interesting thing is and I'm sure people ask, why the orangey color for the background? Well, there are two reasons. One, orange is across from turquoise on the color wheel. Therefore, it would make the turquoise really pop. And two, it's a sort of subtle reference to opposites. And thinking of the young Native American man and the young woman, and then how she wanted to be both rooted and to travel. And so this was a subtle reference to that. There are two other interesting things about this project, and I'll be very brief. One, getting the turquoise just right was a challenge. As you could probably tell from Marcia's uh, photographs in the early part of the program, turquoise is a very definite favorite color of hers. And so I wanted to be very attentive to that. The second thing is that the original concept was that the back of the truck would be on the front cover and the front of the truck would be on the back cover. The idea being that at the beginning when Ava leaves, she drives off, and then at the end, she comes back. So this would reinforce that. Well, when Amy did the graphic design, she switched that, and we all loved it. Yes, that works beautifully. So it was interesting that each of us had a role in coming up with these. So thank you so much for asking.
Oh, well, you were such a pleasure to work with. And Sia, if you could put the photograph back up just for a minute. Right, you started out, Sia, by talking about the symbolism, and I just want to tell you what some of the instruction that we asked or requests we made of Barbara. The truck, there is a turquoise truck in the book that Ava and Jesse travel in for a while. And to me, it has to do with motion. The truck has to do with motion. And the tree has roots, growing roots, and that has to do with putting roots down. And I think it really works as a representation of Ava's pull in two directions. One, her being a wanderer and wanting to travel, and the other, her need for home and family. And so that's what we were the idea we were trying to work with. I just thought if people looked at it again, they could follow what I was saying. But thank you, Barbara. It was wonderful to work with you, and this was a great collaboration in all ways.
Thank you, Barbara. It was an honor to get to know you and to have your artistic work on this. It was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Marcia, when we first started working together on Watching Men Dance, we did not foresee that circumstances would force us to do this launch online. And you wrote something, your most recent addition to the book was at the last paragraph in the acknowledgments. And I would love it if you would share that with us right now.
Okay. Easy to find because it's the last page of the book.
Right.
Right, and this I really want to, I'm happy to read it, but I also want it to be addressed to the audience that is with us tonight on Zoom as well. I find myself writing these acknowledgments in the pandemic era of sheltering at home and social distancing, when it is hard to even imagine hitting the road again. Yet it is the travelers and the wanderers I am thinking of, those who wish to engage with the stranger, to learn from difference, and to see the world. I thank you all for reading my book. I hope that the travels within these covers will help relieve the ache of wanderlust and keep you content under your very own covers for now. Be patient. Soon we will be on the road again.
Oh, thank you, Marcia. And when we were talking about the book launch, I loved your vision of the book setting sail. Just like your main character goes on a grand adventure, you were talking about wishing your book a bon voyage. Well, your friends and family love that idea, and we have a special video from some people that you're probably going to recognize.
Congratulations to Marcia on completing this journey and finishing this fabulous book. I remember when she was in the early phases of this project, we were up in Thronos in the mountains of Crete, and we visited a lyra maker. And when he heard that she was at work on a gender-flipped Odyssey, he pulled out a lyra that was carved with a theme from the Odyssey of the Cyclops gobbling up at Odysseus's men. You can still see one foot sticking out of the mouth of the Cyclops. It's been a fabulous journey every step of the way, fascinating at every stage, and I'm so glad to have seen this project completed.
Congratulations, Marcia, on having written a beautiful book. I hope it finds hundreds and hundreds, thousands of enthusiastic readers. I've loved watching it blossom over the years, and you too. Good luck and bon voyage to the book.
Hi, Marcia. It said that our books are like our offspring, and I've watched this baby as I watched Inga develop almost since her conception, and I'm delighted that she's now ready to venture out into the big world, and I hope that when she's there, she'll be as successful and happy as Inga has been. Much love to you and Tom.
Hi, everybody. I am Marcia's friend, Harriet.
And I'm her friend, Steve.
And we are so excited about Watching Men Dance.
Can't wait to get our hands on the first copy we can get.
And may it have wings as it deserves.
May it dance through the universe.
Yeah.
Marcia, I'm super excited to read this newest version of Watching Men Dance. Pressed between the beautiful cover design by Barbara Waterman-Peters and so ably published by Thea Rodemaker. I wish you the best success with the book. I'm eager to buy it, read it, and order more for friends. Best wishes on this launch.
Congratulations on the publication of Watching Men Dance. I know what a long journey writing a novel can be, And I also know that your novel has long journeys in it. The best journey for me will be going through the book one more time and reading it, enjoying it, and bon voyage.
Oh,
Marcia, congratulations on the launch of Watching Men Dance. It has a great title, it has a great cover, and I am eager to get the green light so I can order my very own copy from the Raven. So, bon voyage to Watching Men Dance and buen viaje.
Hey, Marcia, congratulations on your book launch. It's a fascinating book with beautifully drawn characters and a wonderful story. I think your years of being a playwright and knowing how to develop characters and tell a good story have helped you in this wonderful new endeavor. Good luck.
Marcia, Melissa, Iris, and Claudia. Here to just say hi and can't wait for the September 24th celebration, the launching of your new baby, Watching Men Dance. You've written so many books, most of them plays, but lately you moved into the new genre, and we can't wait to see it. Be part of this. We're delighted. Actually, that's the one reason why COVID-19 is good, because we can be part of it far away. Make it easier for us anyway, even though we do look forward to someday showing up for one of your launchings or some the new baby in the future. I remember when I was in Topeka in 2002, when you were doing the research for the Visions of Right. And in 2007, Claudia and I came and saw the play in Bloomington. There's a ticket. Good to see you. And throughout the years, of course, I'm thinking back to Topeka when I was in the playwright group, and once a month, and whenever it came to host in my house, I would invite you over and we'll do one of your plays. And so it's such a treat and an honor to be part of this. And I do all the talking.
No, that's okay. I just want to say congratulations, and I echo that. I'm glad to be able to be part of it, and I can't wait to hear it.
So we're gonna share some bubbly, and you know what I mean, that night. And Kalo Taxidi.
Guys, go.
Launching off the boat, whatever metaphor. Kalo Taxido, may we travel well. Kali Tihi, good luck. I should probably throw Opa just for the sake of it. Πολλά φιλάκια, many kisses, love you, take care.
Hey Mom, congratulations on your book launch. We're super excited for you.
Congratulations, yay.
Can't wait to see it.
Looks awesome. I really enjoyed what I've seen of it so far. I hope it's really successful.
Yay!
Oh yeah,
and Biggie.
There you go. Some love. All right. Well, before we get to questions,
I just want to thank everyone for having done that, taking the time, and I really appreciate all these good wishes. And Tom has poured me a glass of this bubbly that Belisarius Cardacosta sent to us. So thank you to him, and thank you to all of you. It just warms my heart, and I feel all teary now.
Well, enjoy that drink. It looks delicious. I just want to tell everyone that Marcia has autographed book plates, and she will send you one if you just go to her new website, cebulskawrites.com. Just fill in on the contact form that you'd like a book plate, and she will send that to you, and you can put it inside the copy of your book. And secondly, obviously, Marcia has become quite the Zoom whiz, so she's available to drop in on your book club or any online event that you might have. So now, Marcia, we're going to turn to questions. I know we do have one. The first one is from Carol. How did you change focus to write a novel after years of writing plays? And what did you enjoy about this change of focus?
Okay. It was a great pleasure. It was a joy to write a novel. I got to describe things in detail, got to see the interior of characters, things that may have been built into characters in the play, but I got to be very much more expansive and write about travel. I mean, you can't usually have 40 locations in a play. I don't know how many I even have, but it's got to be something like that. So all of those things. And thank you, Carol. Thank you for asking the question.
We have a question from Colleen, and I think she's really interested in all the descriptions about food. And I can say that when I was editing this book, I did get very hungry. She wants to know if you've written other books about food. Seems like a fit, she says.
Oh, well, maybe the next one will have more food in it as well. I have not written other books, and I was a playwright really for decades. So there may have been food on the stage. Well, I guess one of my plays, Florida, does have. It does take place in a bakery, so we have some emphasis. There's a lot of conversation about baked goods anyway. Yeah, so I haven't written a book of any other books about food. When I was a folklore grad student, my emphasis was on foodways, and I did have like articles that were more scholarly that were published on that subject. But I got to indulge myself in this book and have all this glorious food.
And I will say, I know from personal experience, you are a phenomenal cook, as is your husband. You definitely practice the art of hospitality. I'm very thankful for that. We have a question from Kelly. Could you tell us more about your father and his dancing? What was that like for you as a child growing up?
My father wasn't so much as a dancer, but my uncles, so my mother's brothers, were danced. And the thing is, having grown up in a bakery in an old Polish neighborhood that felt like a village, almost every weekend there was some wedding that my father made a wedding cake for. And so we tended to go to a lot of those weddings, and there was always a lot of dancing. It was just part of our life that we would dance. I also myself was very fond of dancing, and I took ballet, tap, Hawaiian, modern. So I spent a lot of time dancing in my own childhood. There's a line in my play, Florida, that says, "When I danced with Daddy, my feet never touched the ground." So my character in my play was a big dancer. My father, in reality, not so much. Thanks, Kelly.
Our next question is from Steve. He wants to know, what advice do you give new writers on how to write that first page?
Oh, okay. Well, some people have a problem with, not being hating to come to the first page. So I recommend writing across the top some equivalent of "this is going to be crap," and that you write whatever comes to you. And even if it's just filling up the page, you get your hand moving, you get your fingers moving on the keyboard. And another piece of advice is to write about what you are going to write. So like, okay, I'm thinking of writing about a woman who is kind of like Odysseus maybe. And often what happens to me is after I start writing about what I'm wanting to write, I end up actually writing it. I'm a person who puts a lot of notes in my journal, and usually that helps in that it doesn't seem permanent at first. So I might, have some ideas about, oh, here's a bit of dialogue, here's a bit of description, and then transfer those to the computer. That seems more permanent, lasting in some way. But the fact is, it's not, because we can, as we know, Thea, from this book, we can rewrite and rewrite and rewrite and make things better and clearer and more consistent as we go along. And the great thing about being a writer is that you can change everything. You're never stuck. I mean, in real life, we might say something and then worry about hurting someone's feelings or whatever. And when we write, we can revise. It's the great gift to writers that we get to rewrite.
And I love being involved in that process because I'm able to see how you are constantly improving upon what you have written. And I've learned so much from that. And I also know that as a playwright, you are very concerned about that first chapter, right? That really got that got a lot of attention.
But actually, in this book, the prologue was written after most of the book was written. The first chapter was written actually already after you had contracted the book. So things can change. And we realize that we need a different setup.
Right,
yeah.
Right. Beth wants to know if you envision more adventures with Ava. Is there a follow-up book potentially?
What a great idea. What I have on the back burner right now that I'm anxious to complete is a memoir, and it has to do with my own adventures. But when I finish that, I mean, if there's a demand for it, if people like the character, I could imagine that those characters could have a continued life. I can't imagine that. So we'll have to see how things progress.
But I have my vision of what happens to the characters at the end of the book. But yeah, I fell in love with the characters, so I would love to spend more time with them.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. See, I didn't. This is great to have this occasion, so I learn these things. People love the characters. Maybe continue with them. Okay, that's great. Thank you.
We have one more question, and it's from Colleen, and she wants to know what has been one of the high points of your career thus far?
When I wrote my play Florida, which is a really autobiographically based very heavily, and when it was chosen for the O'Neill National Playwrights Conference, I'm going to name a couple things, I guess. I heard from them. I got a telegram saying it was selected. I then got a phone call from Sundance also asking for the script, and I had 24 hours in which there was almost like a bidding war, although they didn't bid. It was mostly with, oh, we're going to really feature your play. Don't you really want to come here? And so that, I thought, okay, I'm never going to have this happen again. That's one. But a more recent one here in Topeka was when I was commissioned to write the play about for the national celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Brown v. Board decision. And we did this play as part of the celebration, and we had some very prominent actors in it, and also people like Yolanda King, Martin Luther King's daughter was in it. And in the first half hour that the tickets were available, all 2,000 tickets got taken in that first half hour, which was amazing. And to be in a room, that large room, with an audience of, I think it was almost half and half, black and white, and just being involved with that and being a part of that, and trying to tell a story that very much needs to be told. I loved working with Kelly Hunt and Queen Bey, so we had two blues singers, one white, one black, singing during it. It was an amazing experience.
Marcia, I am so inspired by how you have taken your wealth of experience and wisdom and success, and you've pivoted using your strengths, but to a new arena. And now a book is a permanent thing that can be shared with many, many people. It's in print and an ebook, available wherever books are sold, on Amazon, at the Raven. It's distributed anywhere that you would choose to purchase it. And I thank you so much for sharing your time with us tonight and for helping us. Do you have anything else you want to say? And then we will go to our closing credits.
Okay. Well, I thank you, Thea, for adopting the book and helping me make this transition. I also want to thank all my early readers, some of whom were in that video that you're so sweet to put together, and my husband, who's read multiple drafts, and the many people who read early drafts and responded to them and helped the book grow. I want to give you know who you are, and I will thank you personally, and I will give you all books. But I had a lot of help, and I had to learn how to move into a more literary rather than dramatic world, and all of you, and you especially, Thea, helped me make that journey.
Well, we're all the luckier for it. So thank you, Marcia, and great success. Good luck with your book. And thank you, everybody who came tonight. We're done. Bye. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.